Welcome to another wonderful episode of Minding My Business the CEO story. This is season 3 and it's powered by Nucleus Office Parks. And this season we thought we'd get the top IPCs in India, talk real estate for a bit. Pleased to welcome Anurag Mathur, CEO at Savills India. Hi, great to see you. How are you? I love the painting behind you.
Hi, Hrishi. Thanks. Yeah, it's a nice piece of work, New York City.
Great. Civil India's latest report, India Market Snapshot Q3 22, throws light on key trends and developments across 6 of India's major office markets, Anurag. Please run us through the details of that report.
Look, it's there's a lot that we've covered in the report, but I'll give you some of the highlights. So essentially, what we've said in the report is that it's been an exceptional year so far in terms of commercial office markets. We've seen a 57% year-on-year growth as of end of Q3 this year. This is over the previous year, same time, which is a very strong recovery. And if the trend continues, we got 3 months to go. I mean, the last quarter. If that trend continues, we are anticipating the total absorption to get to about 56, 55 million square feet. Now, what that essentially means is that we would be at level or ahead of 2019 absorption number, which was the best year ever in our recorded history. So it says a lot in terms of the demand and absorption of commercial A-grade commercial real estate in India. So it's a great story actually that's unfolding as we live it.
It is indeed. You know, while doing some essential reading on before reaching out to you, I came across a very interesting blog on the Savills official website. It says ESG in industrial and logistics sector in India supporting a positive progressive transition. I'd like you to elaborate on that for our listeners.
Yeah. So look, the industrial warehousing logistics sector in India, it's a developing sector. It's a sector which is still fairly nascent in India. And because of that or for other reasons, it's a little behind in terms of sustainability, ESG, governance, transparency, and all those things. But as we mature, and we are maturing very fast in that sector, particularly, there is a lot of focus on ESG in matters such as increased transparency, gender inclusivity, sustainability in terms of construction, in terms of usage on operations and all that. So that is now becoming very important going forward for operators in that space. So while we will grow and we are growing very fast in that segment, what we have said is that there is a great amount of focus on the ESG side as well. Many times when rapid growth happens, it happens at the expense of some of these things, such as sustainability, governance, and so on and so forth. But we are going through a very unique period where there is a very significant focus on the parameters which are ESG as such. So that's what the blog is all about essentially, and it talks in detail on what is happening and what's going on and where the focus is and so on.
Yeah, that's heartening. Saville's latest report, let's move to that. It's on a resurgent flex market. It throws light on how real estate stakeholders perceive commercial office space requirements in a post-pandemic world and how flex space, that is likely to witness a new peak in terms of gross absorption. I'd like you to talk us through that. Basically your thoughts on co-working and flex players.
Yeah, look, it's a very interesting phenomena that is playing out globally as well as in India. So if you see the whole flex space segment is no more than about 7-8 years old.
Yeah.
Doesn't in the current definition, it doesn't go beyond that. We used to have business centers and all that before that, but that's not classically a flex space operator or nothing of the scale that we're talking about. So this has been growing over the past, like I said, 7-8 years, and this year has been very interesting. Through the COVID period, flex operators, that segment of the industry has grown. And this year, they are likely to have an exceptional year. So they lease from the same pool that everyone else leases building space because they don't construct they don't own their real estate, so they lease. Now, when I talked of the leasing volume earlier, flex spaces are going to be in excess of about 20% of the market share of the overall space demand this year. This is the highest ever. So, and this is what we had said, we had predicted about, and we had done a report, I think I'm going to say 2020, where we had predicted saying the flex market space in a matter of 2 3 years will get to a very large amount. And actually, that's now turning out to be true. This year, we are anticipating the flex space market to go up to about a 120 or 130,000 square feet space, which is very, very large. Now, this is now become a very important segment of office spaces as to how companies operate and how people like to go to offices and they work and operate and all that. So it's a very interesting segment and how this industry is playing out. Now, there are several micro trends as to why they're doing and why are they growing and so on and so forth. But that's a fairly elaborate explanation. But this is growing very fast, and I think it's a very interesting trend that is playing out. And I think one of the main reasons for that is the whole uncertainty at this point in the world, which is, and the flex players in that industry is solutioning or countering that uncertainty.
There's a lot of, watching over the IT spending and IT outsourcing industry. Do you think the recession in the US will impact US based corporations and their IT spending and the IT outsourcing business?
Look, I'm not an IT expert, so not going to be commenting upon about how that happens, but I can certainly talk to you about how it impacts or what's going to happen with the our industry, which is the real estate, commercial real estate industry. Now, my sense is that the recession that's happening in the Western world, it's real. And as a result of that, the big tech are shedding jobs. And if they're not shedding jobs, they're certainly not hiring. They're not expanding and all that. So that obviously will have an impact. It's already having an impact where companies are not taking major decisions and so on and so forth. But so in that sense, that has a direct impact on our industry because those companies will not expand as such and may slow down their expansion and so on. But again, like I said, I'm not an industry expert. I'm not an IT expert, so I can't talk too much about it. However, what is also important, and that when I say how it relates to our industry, is that the IT industry is just coming off the back of just phenomenal growth in the last 2 years. Now, what has happened is in these past 2 years, or I'm going to say even 3 years, there's been very, very aggressive hiring in the IT tech industry that has happened. Ironically, when this hiring was happening, no one was going to office. So pretty much every IT company has hired a lot of people, far more than they have the capacity to put them into offices. So a lot of them are still working from home, gradually returning to office and so on. But at some point, when that workforce starts to come back to office, and they are, the demand for office space will only go up. And anecdotally, I can tell you is a lot of companies have as much as doubled their headcount in the COVID period when no one is coming to office. Now, imagine they don't have enough office space or seats and to put them. If those people came back to office, where will they sit? Where will they go to office? What's their work facility like? So therefore, the impact on us, I don't think in our industry is going to be in any meaningful measure as such. So I'm not too worried about it. I think we are still going to grow. The absorption is continue to is going to be very robust in a foreseeable future.
Yeah, so even though you're not an IT expert, I mean, would you, in that sense, say at the other end, at the end of the spectrum, because there are inflation-led wage hike pressures in the US and Europe, that is leading to more IT jobs in India?
That's a very plausible argument that, and Rishi, one important factor is, I think, once again, with the fact that I'm not an outsourcing or an IT expert, my sense is that India is not just a cost arbitrage country anymore. We are a strong and a quality workforce location now. So the amount of people that the IT industry needs to have to grow their businesses, they can't find them in those numbers anywhere else except India. So not necessarily are we looking, those companies are looking at a cost arbitrage. They are looking at people to scale up their businesses. And
True.
there is no other destination besides India for scaling up those businesses. So I think we are in the center and the middle of that whole process.
Well said. Are unicorns demanding more office space, or was that something that happened in July and then kind of petered down, died down? And I'm just curious to know which city leads the market.
So to answer your reverse, I think Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad, they have done very well in that sense. Even Delhi, Gurgaon, they are the market leaders in terms of the unicorns and the whole startup economy. They have slowed down a little bit, but they continue to occupy a lot of space. And coincidentally, a lot of them gravitate towards the flex spaces. And the flex spaces, like I said earlier, having the best year, and they're growing really very rapidly. They are mimicking that trend as to the maximum amount of flex space that you're seeing is unfolding in Bangalore, Pune, and Hyderabad. So that triangle is seeing most of the action, and that's where I think the whole unicorns and the startups also are located.
Anurag, according to lots of commercial watchers, office leasing is up 97% in Jan to September in 6 cities. What are the chances of it hitting record numbers this year in 2022? And
No,
also, again, is this spurt in leasing also because of the spillover in demand from the last 2 years?
yeah, so that's true. So there's, like I said earlier, in the opening question, we've had a very robust and a very, very good year in terms of commercial office leasing. It's been really strong recovery and a growth. And like I said, end of this year, December 31st, this year, we may just actually meet or surpass the 2019 number, which, like I said, was the best year ever before COVID happened, and it went downwards. So it's going to be a very strong year, and it is looking like a very good year. Truth be told, I do think that a lot of it is a spillover or from the previous years. Like I said to you earlier, that there was a lot of hiring that happened, and there wasn't the need to go to office, and therefore people did not take space, which they're doing now. So it's very difficult to distinguish to say what is real growth story happening now and how much is it fumes from previous years. But it's a fair mix, and there is, I'm not going to say small, but a significant part of the previous year's hangover that is getting executed this year.
What about vacancy levels in office? Have they also considerably reduced? And what could be the reason for that?
Uh, I think what we are saying is, at this point, the vacancy levels are in the vicinity of about 18% grade A office space on a national pan-India basis. Uh, look, there's, like I said, when the demand is so strong, there is obviously going to be pressure on vacancy levels. It's uneven, the vacancy, because there are cities where they have very, very low vacancies. There are cities where there is a higher vacancy and so on. But it's a fairly low number, not that small, but it's a fairly small number. But the good thing is that across all cities, major developers are still pouring concrete, and they're making new buildings and better quality buildings, and they're not stopping, or they're not worried, which is a very, very good sign. And I fully endorse that. is to be able to be prepared for more growth, and their sentiment is, and their sense is that the growth story will continue, which I, like I said, I fully endorse and agree with.
What about new supply of office in the first 9 to 10 months of this year, of 2022?
So yeah, we've had supply come into the market, but obviously it's been slow in the last 2 years. A lot of COVID stoppage, delays, and so on. But supply continues to come in. At this point, we've seen about 42 million square feet odd till Q3 of this year.
What about REITs, Anurag? Now, despite the uncertainties, how have they done? And going forward, how do you think office REITs will grow? Also, your thoughts on industrial and retail REITs.
Look, REIT is a fairly new phenomena in India, and I think as an asset investment class, it's going to grow, and it should. It's a great product for everyone in that space. So the distribution of dividends has been consistent. It's growing, which is really the primary objective of REITs. And it's, like I said, it's a perfect vehicle to harness public money and for the public to participate in the real estate story in India. It's a yield generating asset class product and all that. So REIT in India will grow consistently. That's my phenomena. You will see more and more REITs coming into the country, getting listed over the next couple of years and all that. I'm a very, very strong proponent of REITs. And I think there should be more awareness about REITs in public to participate in this whole growth story that is unfolding in commercial real estate, both in office as well as in retail. We don't have a retail REIT yet, but we are expecting one to come through fairly soon. That will be a very, very interesting product for this market.
India today is one of the fastest growing e-commerce and third-party logistics market. Now, given that fact, how's the industrial and warehousing property market fared, and do you think demand will continue to rise?
Yeah, I mean, look, the warehousing has been a very, very interesting sector for a while now, and it's a global trend that is playing out. India is no exception. I think India is probably ahead of the curve. We are a very vast, untapped market in the segment of e-commerce, and post the GST change, that legislation that came about, there's been a significant uptick in realignment of the whole logistics supply chains, and a result of that, how the warehousing industry and how they are changing and modernizing and getting more efficient. So there's a lot of focus and investment going into that space. The demand is primarily from, on the warehousing side I'm talking about, is from manufacturing side, manufacturers, the third-party logistics, e-commerce, organized retail, all of those guys. Everyone is doing well. I mean, India is a young consumer country, so there's a lot of there's a lot to be done in that space. There's a lot of headroom for growth over there. And then, of course, is the government's policy, the whole policy framework, which is supporting the logistics and the warehousing and distribution sector. I think we're in the middle of a minor revolution playing out over there.
Would you safely say that working from office is back as opposed to working from home? In that aspect, is infrastructure supporting an easier commute to work?
It's $1 million question and a controversial, difficult question. Look, the working from office in the conventional sense that we have known for the last 40, 50 years, that's probably changing, and changing very fast. It's been changing for the last several decades, but it's changed now the change will be fairly compressed and rapid at this point. So to expect that all hands in office 9 to 6 every day, that probably is not going to happen. It was going away before COVID, and I think COVID just accelerated that whole trend. So I don't think that is a likelihood that everyone will come back to office 9 to 6, 5 days a week. That's clearly out. How much of the population comes back to office? How often do they need to come to office, and how many do need to come to office? That's a different question. Look, the other point also is the permanent work from home was a reaction to what happened in the COVID years, that you could not go to office. You should not have been in the offices or in public places at that time. So now that's past. So that was, to me, was an aberration. It was a solution to an unprecedented problem that we had on hand. Can it be a permanent trend? I doubt. Look, my sense is we are a knowledge economy now, which means there is a significant amount of focus on innovation, on technology, on efficiency, collaboration, and all that. That can't necessarily happen when everyone's sitting from home and working from home. You need to be together, to be collaborative, to have a FaceTime, to have impromptu meetings and discussions and so on and so forth. So I think the answer lies somewhere in the middle, that you can't permanently always work from home. There may be some jobs who may not want to come to office or don't need to come to office. That's a different issue. That's, I think, a smaller subset. But on the larger scale, I think you will see a mix of a significant amount of people back to office, but not necessarily every day, full day kind of a thing. So you will see the ball is still rolling. I don't know where will it end, stop, but that's more like where I foresee it stopping.
Well, what are the office locations to watch out for in Mumbai city? How is Parel, for example, in central Mumbai, and BKC, which is Bandra Kurla complex, faring?
Look, Parel it has some traffic problems in that location during peak hours, but there are several infrastructural improvements which have been sort of made. They're ongoing at this point, and some have already been done, and the others are underway. My sense is once that gets done in some shape and size, that Parel and Lower Parel will continue to attract and be an attractive location, and it should come back. So that to me is a very attractive location. It had this traffic issues and all that, but once that's sorted and there's work happening, I think it should be a fairly strong location. Worli again continues to have some good developments, and I think it's an attractive location. Besides that, my bet will be on Navi Mumbai and JVLR. Outside of that, I think BKC continues to be a really great spot for most companies to have presence in.
Let's look at startups now. How much office space are startups occupying in India? Do you think venture capital is steering the development of startups and favorable government policies towards startups? And of course, if you look at the third angle, the availability of a deeper talent pool mean that it will impact office space occupied by them.
Yeah, I mean, I talked a little bit about this to you earlier. The startups are a significant consumer of office space. They are not a fringe player anymore. They are consuming more and more office space. The whole startup economy, because of what's the recession and the interest rates and so on and so forth, they are going through a bit of a challenge from my understanding, from my viewpoint. But I don't think that necessarily has changed their demand dramatically at this point. Because of the nature of what they do, I think a lot of startups are gravitating towards flex office spaces. And I think it suits them well because it's, the space and the inventory is flexible, and they can quickly ramp up or go down as the case may be. And like I said, those 3, 4 cities, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and Delhi NCR, they continue to be the hotspots for the startup organizations, companies.
Consider this as some advice you're dispensing. What do landlords need to consider if they need to capture the real estate demand from startups?
I think the the whole world today has become. I mean, it's a lot more uncertain than it was, let's say, 3 or 5 years ago. So therefore, the flexibility is become the biggest mantra in today's world when it comes to commercial real estate. It's in many other aspects also, but in commercial real estate, it's very important. So any which way, when you're dealing with occupants, corporations, of consumers of commercial real estate, flexibility does come into play. I think that becomes dramatically more important when you're dealing with the startup players, because their ability to predict their space requirement 3 years, 5 years, 9 years, 10 years is very difficult. It's very limited.
Yeah.
And our industry is capital intensive industry. Leases are long term, and so on and so forth. So therefore, that becomes a challenge for startups, is to be able to foretell what their staff requirements will be, staff numbers will be 3, 5 years from now, and how much they should commit to, and all that. And therefore, the flexibility comes into play. That's what developers will have to, and they have been focusing. And the way they address it is by having flex space operators at every building level. So it's almost now become a hygiene. In a sense, when you go to a commercial office building, you need to have an ATM and a restaurant and a coffee
Yeah.
shop in that building. It's almost become a hygiene factor. Same way, at a building level, you need to have some level of a flex space operator or a place over there where someone can come in and flex and grow as such.
Hybrid working as a workspace strategy. How is that looking according to your research, Anurag?
Interesting. I think hybrid working is here to stay. Companies are gradually moving to tier 3 and tier 4 cities or suburbs of existing metros, which wasn't a very prominent trend earlier. We have, in our research, identified 23 viable locations in tier 3 and 4 towns, in addition to top six or thereabouts cities and their outer precincts to establish these hybrid setups. So our view is, in our research, and we've done some survey, and based on that, we picked up. So these 23 locations is what we've identified, and I think as a trend, it's going to happen. This is going to be a very viable situation given how people are preferring to work these days and all that, and the increasing infrastructure challenges in some of our mega cities and so on. So I think this is an important trend that's playing out, and I think it's going to be here to stay.
What about non-metro cities as opposed to urban cities? Are interest levels towards building offices in non-metro cities seeing a rise? Do you think, obviously, that it will then reduce the infrastructure load on metros and that could lead to more equitable growth?
It should, ideally speaking, it should have a calming effect on the major mega cities because, look, frankly, at this point, the concentration of our workforce in the 6 major cities, the 7 major cities, is just too high, and it's growing, and cities are facing the challenge in keeping up with that pace and frankly, there is not unlimited infrastructure that you can put in these cities. So I think tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities have to pick up. It's time now. And the hybrid working, the technology, the knowledge industry, I think they will all facilitate the hybrid working in some of these tier 3, 4 cities. Earlier, and we've done this research several times over on the viability and feasibility of these cities. Um it was always a challenge. Connectivity was a challenge. Infrastructure was a challenge, and all that. I think we are now we are there. We are getting there, if already not there, in terms of several smaller cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities. So I think there is you will see a lot of action in years to come in that space.
Just a cursory glance at telecom and consulting sectors are, I believe that they are seeing the highest rate of return to office, like 75 to as high as 100% of them are coming back to work from office. Your comments, please.
I do not have information specific to these companies or these sectors. Uh, because this data is still fairly anecdotal. You don't have enough trends
Fair
to say
enough.
who's coming in and how much and so on and so forth. But look, there is an increasing amount of in the and I can say the BFSI industry. I think the banking, financial services, insurance. I think they have on very large numbers come back. You are right. A lot of consulting workforce is also back. Telecom, I'm not so sure. I don't have insights to be able to say, but there are other industries also who are now significantly back to office in very large numbers.
Just a couple of questions on residential. Look at residential property. Will another interest rate hike impact home sales demand? I mean, we're hearing stories, Anurag, of a best performing September month in the last 10 years, despite rising interest rates. Also, an increase in stamp duty. And of course, at the end of the day, we are India. Shraddh falling in this particular period. What really is the reality?
Look, there are several questions that merit long answers over there, but I'll keep it brief. So, look, our residential industry fundamentally is a very strong industry. We are a
Yeah.
country where there is a shortage of dwelling units. The home ownership is still very, very small in India. I'm not saying that everyone needs to own a home, and as people get more mobile and they get more aspirational and so on and so forth, we should be able to rent more readily what you have rather than. So I'm not saying that the pendulum should go to extreme where everyone owns a home. That's not going to happen. It should not happen. But there is a lot more that needs to happen in that space. A lot more people need to be able to own homes and all that. So the fundamentals are very strong. What has happened in the last couple of years is a lot of catch up has happened for various reasons. So I think those things have been discussed in the media in great detail. But a lot of catch up has happened, and I think the trend will continue as I can see. Yes, interest rates have gone up, but again, our research and our sensitivity says that unless the rates go up very, very sharply in a very short time, that trend is not going to change. I don't think that there is a cooling effect that necessarily is going to play out, because look, a lot of our demand is genuine demand.
Yeah.
It's not the investors playing in that market. It's now people who want to buy homes and they want to be able to live in them and so on. They're the ones who are buying. So I don't think that you can necessarily get them away by some small change in interest rates, because the demand is real, and it's a fairly attractive market at this point.
Are builders willing to pass on the benefits post the center's anti-inflammatory measures?
And the short answer is yes. I think the developers have have really played along and cooperated with the government and everywhere. They have benefited also when the stamp duty relaxation happened. I think that helped the developer community a lot. But also wherever there has been, and there has been an opportunity, there haven't been too many, but wherever there have been opportunities, I think the developers have passed on the benefits to the end consumer. And truth be told, I mean, the cost of construction has gone up significantly. Commodity prices have gone up very sharply over the past 2 or 3 years. Every metal, steel, copper, aluminum, etc., cement, everything has gone up. The prices have escalated in double digits, as sometimes as much as 50%. And the developers have still absorbed a lot of that cost inflation and passed it on to consumers without a price hike, or if not without a price hike, not a commensurate or an equitable price hike. So I think they have played ball, and they've been fairly cooperative in passing on and facilitating the liquidation of the inventory and being able to sell houses to end consumers.
Just one last one on residential. I mean, here's a country that has gone through the pandemic, and everybody's a little more obsessive about space. You need larger space to yourself. What if, is the big question everybody's asking. Let's look at high-end residential markets. In the 7 major cities of this country, how is the monthly average rent in expensive residential colonies, high-end residences shaped up, if you look at this last 2-year periods, given that tenants are now looking for large-size houses?
Sorry, so is your question to say how the rental trends are going?
The rental trends, exactly. Rental trends.
Look, that specific market is a fairly small segment. So it's difficult to predict rental trends as such. But in the micro markets, if you speak just of that very small segment, the answer is there has been a significant strengthening of rentals over there, which actually tells you that there is a significant demand for larger space. And look, we are a growing country. There is increasing prosperity that is flowing in the country. So people are being able to earn more, and they have aspirations to live better quality life, better spaces, larger spaces, and so on and so forth. So I think it's only natural that people aspire to buy bigger apartments or homes and all that. And then in cases, people wanting to buy second homes or destination homes or holiday homes or leisure properties and all that. So whatever you may call. And all of that has done very, very well and continues to do very well. There's a great interest in people in buying and even renting larger, interesting marquee properties.
We always ask our CEOs some lifestyle questions before wrapping up. So, your favorite travel or holiday destination, and what did you most enjoy about that space, that place? What did you end up doing there?
Difficult one. Look, I can't say I have a favorite travel destination as such, but amongst, let's say, the top 3 for me is Thailand. It's short travel time. There are direct flights, so it's easy. It's very economical. It's a lovely place. There are great facilities. Hotels are very nice. Restaurants, food scene is very, very good, very vibrant, and it's not expensive. It doesn't hurt you, and there's some great stuff to do. So there's a lot of water sports and stuff like that. I play golf, so Thailand has some exceptional golf over there, which is tremendously enjoyable and very affordable. So I'm going to say, it's one of the in the top 3 places.
What kind of music do you enjoy listening to? Your favorite artists or bands?
So I'm from this guy. So I obviously am a rock music person. My all-time favorite band is Pink Floyd. So that's the music that I enjoy the most. Eagles, Pink Floyd. That's my favorite music.
Your go-to music, classic rock. Can't go wrong with that. Any concert or music performance that you went to recently or in the past that is really memorable? You could describe it.
So I went to a Pink Floyd concert, and of all the places, the three of us, my two other friends of mine from college, three of us, we went to Helsinki in Finland to watch Roger
Wow.
Waters. So that was an incredible experience. I mean, who goes to Finland for a music concert? And when we wanted to go, there were only a select few concerts. Roger Waters was on tour, and he was performing in Stockholm and Helsinki those days when we wanted to go, and we couldn't get tickets to Stockholm. It's not vastly different from Helsinki, I guess. But Helsinki we got, and we went into a stadium and watched, stayed there for 2 days, 3 days, and came back. So very, very memorable. And what a concert. Phenomenal.
So, as a Pink Floyd fan, is it wish you were here or is it comfortably numb? Which do you prefer?
Comfortably numb,
Comfortably
which
numb.
actually depends on what you're doing, but
True.
comfortably numb is probably. Yeah.
My last question is, what's your fashion sense? I mean, what do you like to wear in the boardroom or when you're working, and of course outside it when you're relaxing?
That's a difficult one. But look, I'm not a major fashion person, but in our industry, in our business, formal dressing always helps. So I'm a suit person. I'm very comfortable wearing suits, white shirts, blue shirts. That's all, and a nice tie. I'm very fond of silk ties, and over the years I've bought a lot of expensive as well as cheap ties, and I have a great collection and love wearing them whenever you whenever I get a chance. And unfortunately, in this day and age, there are not as many people who are wearing suits and ties, so you do feel a little odd once in a while, but I still enjoy it tremendously.
This is a fabulous conversation. I really appreciate your time, Anurag Mathur, CEO Savills India, and I hope to catch up with you soon again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishi. Appreciate this.
That's Minding My Business, the CEO Story, Season 3. We're going to have another CEO from the IPC space for you next time around. Remember, it's powered by Nucleus Office Parks. From me, Hrishi K, it's bye-bye.